how long after the rape did he murder her? What is evident is that the body of the deceased was found on the floor of his shack and that he had fled after the commission of counts 1, 2 and 3 and was subsequently arrested after 2 days. There is no evidence that the accused laterally and voluntarily handed himself in to the authorities after having committed the offences. There is further no evidence that immediately upon his arrest he acknowledged having committed the offences. In fact, and ex facie the pre-trial minute in the court file conducted on 27 May 2025, it is reflected that the accused will plead not guilty to all counts. In light of all of the aforegoing, the court finds that the accused failed to demonstrate true or genuine remorse. There are various aggravating factors. The victim was a defenseless and innocent 6-year-old child playing in the street when she was pulled by the accused into his shack. One can only imagine her terror at first being abducted. Her confusion at having her clothing removed. And her pain at having an erect male penis penetrate her vagina. The post-mortem report evidences the trauma to her genitalia. The accused satisfied his perverted lust on a child, the most innocent and vulnerable member of society. Finally, her terror at having the accused place his hands around her neck and choke the very breath of life out of her. Our society is sick and tired of this epidemic of violence against women and children that has engulfed our country. Our society is further sick and tired of the alarming frequency of the rape of children. The accused is clearly a danger to society. On count 1, the kidnapping, the state submitted that the court impose a 5-year sentence. The court is of the view that this is excessive for the following reasons. This is the minimum sentence for such an offence in circumstances where a firearm is used, which is not the case in this matter. Furthermore, it is clear that the intention in respect of the kidnapping was to commit the rape. It is further apparent that the victim was not held hostage for an extended or protracted period of time. The court finds that there are no substantial and compelling factors warranting a departure from the prescribed minimum sentences on counts 2 and 3. The court On count 4, counsel for the state had submitted that the Immigration Act had been amended to extend the period of imprisonment to 5 years. The court had requested proof of same, and in an email to my registrar, they acknowledged that there had been no such amendment and that the maximum period had remained a period of 2 years imprisonment. Finally, the court wishes to briefly address the issue of the accused's unlawful presence in the Republic. The accused was unlawfully in the country at the time he committed counts 1, 2, and 3. The victim's mother testified that she has developed a hatred towards foreigners. Whilst this is understandable in the circumstances, one must bear in mind that of the many foreigners that we have in our country, and even those that are here unlawfully, many are good and hard-working people who are simply here to seek a better life.
Bako wakutala kabo lava tile ku batati hanyisa lava tile ku batatira bakota kufuna ukuzuza kujuza.
The horrific crimes that the accused chose to perpetrate has no bearing on foreigners from his country or from other countries. And irrespective of whether they are lawfully in South Africa or not. Having regard to all of the aforegoing, this court is of the view that the following are proper and just sentences in the circumstances. On count 1, the kidnapping of a child, you are sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. On count 2, the murder of the minor child, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. On count 3, the rape of the minor child, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. On count 4, contravening the Immigration Act by remaining unlawfully in the Republic of South Africa, you are sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. By operation of the law, all sentences imposed run concurrently with a life sentence. For what it is worth then, the sentences on counts 1, 3 and 4 are to run concurrently with the sentence on count 2. Accordingly, the effective sentence is life imprisonment. Finally, the court wishes to thank all counsel for their assistance in this matter. Mr. Masindi, are there any applications at this stage? Thank you.
Thank you, madam. No application.
Thank you, counsel. Thank you to the court staff. The court adjourns.
Right, so there you have it, live visuals there coming to you from the High Court in Johannesburg, and jubilant scenes coming from the gallery as we take in the breaking news on your screen. Phethe Simiao, the Mozambican national who's confessed to raping and killing Amantle Samane, has been handed an effective life sentence. He, in fact, has been found guilty of kidnapping, murder, rape, and being in contravention of the Immigration Act. For kidnapping, the court has found that he should be slapped with 2 years behind bars, life for murder, life for rape, and 2 years for being in contravention of the Immigration Act. We're just going to take a moment perhaps to just take in the sights and sounds coming from inside the courtroom where the community is taking in what's happened. right, once again, these are the scenes coming to you from the High Court in Johannesburg, where 25-year-old Phethe Simiao has just been handed an effective life sentence for the rape and murder of 6-year-old Amantle Samane. The community there, at least those represented by those in the gallery, seemingly pleased by this outcome, even though the child's mother had asked for an effective 3 life sentences, but I suppose they'll still take the 2 life sentences for the murder and the rape charge. It's a ruling, by the way, from this court that was quite scathing. William Karim, the judge, saying that this particular case has left many unanswered questions. For one, we still don't know the motive for this particular killing, why Phethe Simiao would lure this child in this way and end her life. In fact, throughout the case, we had heard that at some stage he left his shack where this child's body was found to go buy himself a beer and returned once again. The judge saying that, in fact, we don't know how long he's left the child there and whether or not by that time he had committed these crimes. In other words, was the child already dead? He says there's no evidence showing that he voluntarily handed himself over to police, even though he was arrested and later confessed, and went on further to say that even after the arrest itself, it's unclear what ultimately moved him to confess. You might remember that part of the reason why there are so many unanswered questions is because Phethe Simiao has refused to give testimony as part of this ongoing trial. All we have at this moment is testimony from the family and word, of course, from the state who had gathered their evidence. But we haven't heard from the man himself. And that's why the judge has said that there are still so many unanswered questions, which I imagine will be difficult for the family, who is still in some ways desperate for some kind of closure. These again are live visuals from inside the courtroom, and presumably the family there is being consoled in the wake of this particular ruling, given just how incredibly damaging this has been. And in fact, now that I'm able to catch sight of the woman that's crying there, that is Phethe Simiao's mother, who had taken to the stand the last time we were inside this courtroom, speaking about how Amantle Samane's siblings haven't necessarily been the same since learning of what happened to their little sister. And it's, I suppose, in some ways also cold consolation for a mother who is still very grief-stricken, given just how brutal this murder was and how difficult the details surrounding the crime have been, not only for this family, but certainly for the rest of the country. It's a sentiment that's also been reflected by Judge William Karim, who has spoken about how the country is, frankly, sick and tired of just how widespread violence against women and children has become. And I suppose that's why he was so scathing in his own ruling. But once again, if you've just joined us at 10 minutes after 11 o'clock on this Monday morning, the breaking news of the hour is that the man who's now confessed to murdering and killing little Amantle Samane has been slapped with an effective life sentence for those crimes. He was charged, of course, in connection with 4 indictments. That's kidnapping, murder, rape, and being in contravention of the Immigration Act. The court essentially, of course, moving to found that he is guilty of all 4 of those counts and has moved to essentially slap him with a life sentence for murder, a life sentence for rape, 2 years behind bars for being in contravention of the Immigration Act, and 2 years for kidnapping. All of these running concurrently, and that, of course, comes down to an effective life sentence for this 25-year-old. We'll continue, of course, taking in the reaction to the story. What you're watching now are visuals from inside the courtroom, what seems to be an impromptu prayer session where residents, presumably also family members, have surrounded the mother of this 6-year-old girl, who is still, of course, incredibly distraught, even in the wake of this court finding. A difficult story to tell, but one which we'll certainly keep watching for you throughout the course of the coming days. This is The Agenda. More news in just a moment.